earlier on the stream, we talked about just how bad the Giants are. And look, I don't want to say this game is going to be the easiest game on our schedule remaining, but it might be. Like, the Panthers, Bryce Young, every now and then shows something positive. And at the very least, the Panthers go into every game feeling decent because they're honest about what's going on. Like, the Giants, they're probably honest about it right now, but they're honest about, oh, dear Lord, we have no hope. So there is no reason we should go into this game with any sort of struggle, with any sort of underdog mentality. Like, this is a game that the Dolphins should 100% dominate. So, Donovan, I think I'll start it off by asking you, we talked about how this team has nothing going for it, basically. Saquon might play, but outside of Saquon Barkley, is there anything that you could look at and point to, like, we have to stop the Giants from doing this?
On their offense? No. Not
Their team in general.
Thing.
Their team in general.
Kayvon Thibodeau.
Okay.
That's it. That's, I mean, maybe Ojulari.
Azeez Ojulari, who, again, he's also on the injury report with a hamstring, so it is questionable whether he's going to play either.
I mean, he just came off, or he just played his first game with a hamstring injury. I think he's very similar to, like, Jerry Jeudy in the sense that he's kind of out there on a pitch count every week.
Yeah, he's going to stay on the injury report until he's fully cleared. He's going to be limited until he's not, basically.
Which I think it's stupid. I think a lot of teams, especially with, like, hamstring injuries, should do kind of like what the Rams did with Cooper Kupp and just be like, yo, look, you're going to be out for 4 games, deal with it, get healthy, and then come back. Because we've seen these hamstring injuries on some of these guys just linger the entire year.
And not just that, but like those muscular injuries in general, like Joe Burrow with the calf. Like, very similar thing, very similar type of muscle. Like, he's out there playing and struggling through it, whereas he could have potentially been done with it by now, but the team is just such a sucky spot that you feel obligated to throw him out there every single week.
Xavier Howard last year with his 2 groin injuries.
Yeah. It clearly affected him as a player. But yeah, the Giants, it's very difficult to look at this Giants team and with sincerity in your voice, be honest with yourself and say, oh, I'm concerned. Like, I want to be concerned. I want to go into the game and say, you know, it could be a tough game. You know, I can see them, putting some points on the board. I can see them harassing Tua. Like, if Azeez Ojulari plays and is more healthy than was last week, and then Kayvon Thibodeau, that is the concern, is the ability for them to get to the quarterback, which, again, has not been there so far this year. I mean, you look at their stats; they are literally dead last when it comes to sacks. They don't pressure the quarterback at all, and then they don't force the quarterback to turn the ball over. Only 28, or they're 28th in interceptions. So it is a game that Tua should be able to sit back there and dice them up all over. This is a game that, hey, you have Waddle on your team. You're like, in your fantasy team, you're like, Jalen Waddle has not been producing for me. 4 catches, 48 yards last week. Missed the week before that. Hasn't done much this season. This has got to be a bounce-back game for Jalen Waddle.
100%. And I have a question for you. Since you have the stats next to you, what are they in like passing yards and yards per completion?
On offense or defense?
Defense.
Well, it looks better than it is. So they're currently 9th in pass yards allowed. They are the best team in the league when it comes to passing touchdowns. They've allowed the least amount of passing touchdowns. I'm using lineups.com, and they kind of color coordinate: green really good, red bad. I don't know if this is a stat that's worthy of putting at green, because it actually highlights why everything else is so good. Again, 9th in passing yards allowed, least amount of passing touchdowns allowed, 5th in passes attempted against, which we kind of talked about it earlier on the stream. This means that teams are in a position where they don't have to throw the ball against them. The Cowboys, up 40-0 in a heartbeat, special teams touchdown, defensive touchdown. Panthers, boat raced them in the first half, played really conservative in the second half. Who do they play after not Panthers, Cardinals, excuse me. Who do they play the next week?
The Cardinals, the Eagles?
I mean, no, I have that actually right here. I'm not sure why. 49ers, same thing. 49ers get a lead. Brock Purdy plays well, and then they just run the ball with Christian McCaffrey a lot. And then last week against the Seahawks, Same exact thing, except even to a stronger extent. The Seahawks quarterback goes down, and they still have a lead, and they're still able to keep it. So you look at the Cowboys game, the Niners game, the Seahawks game, there just hasn't been the necessity to throw the ball if you're the other team. And if you want to look at the quarterback stats of those teams, we know Brock Purdy had an efficient game, but like Geno was the leading passer for the Seahawks, 13 of 20 for 110 yards and a touchdown. Like, that only looks like passes. On paper, yeah. Well, he also got hurt, so that makes sense. But that also means the guy who came in after Geno got hurt did absolutely nothing. Not Brock Purdy. What's his name? Drew Lock. Drew Lock did absolutely nothing. A 40-point victory against the Dallas Cowboys. 13 of 24, 143 yards by Dak Prescott. That should be something to be proud of. It's not. You look over at the San Francisco 49ers, and again, Brock Purdy, somebody extremely efficient. That's the only game where a team has thrown really well against them. Brock Purdy, 310, 2 touchdowns. That's because the Giants actually somewhat made it a ball game at some point, and they just kind of coasted away.
But they also had Saquon that game, didn't they?
No, not against the 49ers. They did not.
No. They lost him in the...
They lost him.
Cardinals game.
They lost him after the Cardinals game. So the teams just simply aren't throwing the ball against them because they don't have to. And then you get to the rest of the bad, which, again, the rushing defense, atrocious. 31st in rushing touchdowns, 26th in rushing yards, 31st in total touchdowns. We have to dominate. It's really simple as. We have to dominate, especially look at our offensive numbers. Second in total points. Third in total points. First in passing yards. You look over the rushes. Fifth in rushing touchdowns. Second in total touchdowns. Fourth in red zone touchdowns. Second in sacks allowed. Like, every statistical category that is of any sort of importance leans the way of the Dolphins. Donovan, is anything I'm saying crazy? Like, there is literally no reason for us to not dominate this football game.
So, that being said, who do you think is going to be the X factor on offense and defense for the Giants?
For the Giants. Okay. Actually, ask that question one more time, except for the Dolphins.
Okay, who do you think is going to be the X factor on the Dolphins defensively and offensively?
The Dolphins on offense, I'm going to go with Mike White. I think he's going to have a really good day passing the ball in the third and fourth quarter after Tua exits the game after 2 minutes off the clock in the second half, just like he did against the Texans last year. So I think Mike White's going to have a really good game passing the ball. On defense, who do I want to go with? I'm going to go with Brandon Pili. I think he's going to be the X factor because I think he's going to play 100% of the snaps in the second half.
I hate you. Oh my God.
I think Robbie Anderson's going to have himself a great game. Who else sucks that we play? I think Chris Brooks.
Cedric Wilson.
I think Cedric Wilson's going to have a good game. I think Chris Brooks is going to have a good game. On defense, can't even think who sucks on defense. I think Justin Bethel's going to have a good game.
Eli Apple.
I think. No, he's still going to suck.
He's still going to suck.
He's still going to suck. He's going to find a way. I mean, he's going to get burnt, but like Wan'Dale Robinson is going to be he's going to be on the hash of the 40-yard line, and Eli Apple's going to be on the line of scrimmage, picking himself off the ground. Again, not because he's good. I think you have too much trust in our defense. And no, I don't. I don't trust our defense. I think the New York Giants are simply that bad at football. The sport of football. I think they're just that bad. Everything except coach, which is wild to say out loud. Like they're a well-coached team who sucks. When have you ever heard that in NFL history? Because you can't say that about the Patriots right now. Patriots are not a well-coached team. Bill Belichick today is not a good coach for the current NFL. Sue me. Cry if you don't like it. Bill Belichick is not a good coach today. The Giants have a good coach. Brian Daboll is one of the best 10 coaches in the NFL. I'd rather have him coaching my team than probably even Sean McDermott. I believe now maybe Sean McDermott might be in a way, a better coach, but I'd rather have Brian Dable, if that makes any sense. Because I think the way that NFL works, you want an offensive-minded coach almost unanimously, except for the Houston Texans, who you hire a defensive head coach with a rookie quarterback, and it's working. Like, that's never happened ever.
Coordinator?
Is it Josh McCown?
Dude, it might be.
I don't think so, but like, I mean, I'll look it up. I have a laptop right next to me.
Bobby Slowick.
Who?
Bobby Slowick. He was an assistant coach. Oh, he's part of. He came up with Shanahan, Mike McDaniel, Sean McVay. He was on the.
He brought him over from the 49ers.
Yeah, he brought him over from the 49ers, but he was back with them when they were on the Redskins. He was born in '87, so he's only 11 years older than me.
He looks like he has a good credit score.
I haven't seen a picture of him.
I'll let you assume. Like, he keeps his shirt tucked in.
This is Tom Brady.
He wears khakis and a belt, 100%, and tucks it. He probably tucks in a wife beater.
Oh, I mean, we talked about this, especially when you have a young quarterback. Like, it's tough when you have that good of an offensive coordinator, because then he gets hired to be a head coach, and then you lose the guy that was literally helping your quarterback.
Chargers. All seriousness, who on the Dolphins, or I guess you asked me first, who on the Giants? Giants, I mean, it has to be Kayvon Thibodeau and literally nobody else. Like, if he can get pressure on the quarterback, yeah, you might have a difficult time. Statistically, he's not. He's actually had quite a bad season up to this point. And the Giants' defensive line as a whole is, which kind of looks like the Dolphins' defensive line last year, where you're like, there's good guys on there, just none of them are producing. So therefore, it's making the job difficult for every single one of them on the defensive line. Same thing with the secondary. On offense, Saquon if he plays, obviously.
Yeah,
but
that's going to be my two exact answers.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay. If Saquon plays, they need to get that run game going, and they kind of need to go kind of like what the Bills did and what the Chargers did, which is at the beginning of the game, go toe-to-toe with us, match for match, score for score, and then...
That's not happening. Today's edition of that is not happening.
I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, but that's what they need him to do, and they need him to, have that long drive, just running the football, and just use the absolute shit out of him. I mean,
so
like, he's
that's a
going
weird
to
way
be
of
there.
saying something.
I mean, he has to be their entire offense for them to do anything against us. Because let's face it, the weakest part of our defense is our run game.
Which is crazy, because in preseason we thought it looked incredible. And we thought our ground game on offense looked terrible.
So I can tell you the main thing about it is it's the miscommunication between Jerome Baker and David Long, and it's mostly on David Long. I will say that.
Really?
Because I really like the way David Long has been playing, especially in the pass game. But when it comes to like those 8-yard bursts, like I'll see they'll be playing back a little bit and they'll call a run play, and you'll see Baker just run straight into the hole that he has. And then, David Long will run straight into the hole that Baker's supposed to go into. So it'll kind of go like this, and he'll go in front of Baker. And so now Baker has to kind of now Baker's not doing a good job of adjusting and going to the other hole. He kind of just follows him and stands behind him like, what do I do? But that's happened, I swear to you, at least 4 times in each game, where I just see David Long go to the wrong hole and force Baker to go to the other one. Now, I'm not sure if, maybe that's the way it is and Baker's the one messing up. Maybe we're supposed to have a safety come down, but I haven't seen anything. And we can really use Brandon Jones back to 100%. He's clearly not 100% yet. We can really use him back at 100% because when he is in that hard-hitting safety, he's really good in the box. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much what we're missing right now from the safety position. Holland got absolutely thrown like a rag doll, and I hate seeing that.
Yeah, because I think he was, up to that point, up to the Bills game, the best safety in football so far this season. Like that game,
Baker can't get off his tackles.
The game that he had against the Broncos was absolutely incredible, and even before that, he was playing some really good football. Offense and defense, who are the two guys you're looking forward to seeing for the Dolphins?
Dolphins. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Achan can do. Achan can do.
Our
I
boy.
mean, just our boy. Like
That was
it's
not
just,
my
it's,
boy at one
it's,
point. That was
what's
not.
that?
That was definitely not my boy at one point. I said some bad things.
Outlandish.
I called him
Outlandish.
5'6", and a bunch of people decided to cry in the comments. Cry me a river. Oh my god, she's 5'9". You happy? Liz is taller than that. Okay.
Dude, I'm not.
She
I'm not
is.
sure if
She's
you
taller
saw
than
my.
Von
I'm not
Achan.
sure. I'm not sure if you saw my video or not, but I was like, when I was comparing him to CMC, I was like, bro,
I did
even
not.
Jacob in the preseason was like, oh, he's gonna be injury prone just because of the AC joint injury. I'm like, look, he's not gonna get fucking sumo slammed every single game.
Until it happens, though. Until it happens, though. I saw the comment and I immediately looked up. I'm like, oh no, I know it's coming. Devon Achan for sure. I mean, he's just been one of the most fun players to watch in the entire NFL over the last 2 weeks. I mean, his yards per play, his yards per touch has to be the best amongst running backs. I can't imagine there being anybody that has a better yards per touch from a running back. So him. On defense, I mean, just see if Jalen Phillips plays, I guess. Because I don't imagine our defense is going to have too difficult a time. You know, stopping Saquon is definitely something that could come to be some sort of difficulty. But I'm interested to see Jalen Phillips plays, how he's looking, how many times he does get on the field. I would like to see Emmanuel Ogbah get some touches. There was at one point where he was our outside of Xavier Howard, our best defensive player a few years ago, and I think we're both surprised, or we were both surprised that he was still on the team and that he didn't get traded for, another corner after everybody went down, another offensive lineman, another piece somewhere across the board. So I was surprised he's on the team. I hope we get to a point and just let him eat, let him get in, let him get our 10th sack. Like whatever the number ends up being, like I want him to be that dominant, especially, when he gets his time, assuming we're going to be up by a lot.
All right. Over, under 2.5 interceptions.
I'm not going to be giddy. I'm going to say under. I'm going to say 2. I'm going to say 2. 2.5 interceptions. Like I'm not putting the money on that. We never did our prize picks for the trip back, and I'll never forgive you guys for that. But betting over 2.5 is crazy. I mean, obviously, I hope it happens, but I think they're going to say sacks. I think the sacks line has to be like 4.5,
like 3.5, 4,
3.5, 4.5, and I probably take the over on that. Because the secondary doesn't have to keep really anybody in line. Darren Waller is really it, and he hasn't had himself a good season.
I think we could play a lot of man this game. Like I know Vic Fangio doesn't like to run man. I know he likes to run a lot of zone, which I think is the reason for a lot of our struggles defensively, because we're built for man. But I think if we're able to play a little bit more man and allow our defensive line and linebackers to eat.
Score prediction.
A
lot to a little?
40-6.
All right, here's the time for Jacob to decide.
Oh my god!
Does he
want to be outlandish? Or...
I've said a lot of outlandish things this stream, and none of them at any point do I wish to take back. So if I end up regretting it, fair enough. And you know what? The great thing is, I know right now, I know that my girl is supporting everything I'm saying, Liz, because I know she hates the Giants. She also hates the Dolphins. But like at the very least, Jalen Ramsey is a Dolphin, so theoretically, Liz, you should be rooting for the Dolphins here because the Giants, Eagles, theoretically, maybe I'm wrong. So I guess kind of outlandish things hopefully should be approved. But I am going to continue my outlandish things that I've said.
Record?
No. Not that outlandish. Not that outlandish. It is going to cross the 50 mark. I'm gonna go 59-10.
Question for you.
Kind of wanted to just let that simmer in the air a little bit more.
Question for you.
What?
Does the 10 come in the last 5 minutes when it's garbage time?
worse. It's the first drive. They think they have hope, and then it just gets ripped away.
So Broncos.
Yeah.
Broncos.
No, it's kind of like when Aaron Rodgers ran out with the American flag on 9/11. Everyone's so excited, and then his Achilles says, "I'm good."